Well, we got off to a bit of a late start this morning. Of course, we had to iron out some issues with the court with regard to the media being allowed back into court following the erroneous showing of the witness Tumelo Madlala that continues to be cross-examined from this morning into this afternoon. And we've managed to find our way with the court, and some rules have been put in place to ensure that incident does not occur again. We've managed to find common ground with the court on how we will proceed with the trial going forward. So indeed, Tumelo Madlala back on the stand again this morning, and of course a lot of focus this morning for the first time on the post-mortem report of the deceased Senzo Meyiwa. Advocate Zandile Mshololo for accused number 5, pointing to the fact that Tumelo Madlala had previously said in his testimony that the first intruder was behind Senzo Meyiwa when he got a glimpse of the commotion that was taking place in the house. But this report from the doctor, the post-mortem report, shows that the entry wound on Senzo Meyiwa's body was towards the front and had come out in the back. Advocate Zandile Mshololo questioning that if that's what the doctor's report was, and is in contrast to what Madlala had told this court, why is it that the bullet did not, if the doctor's report says that the bullet entry was from the front of his chest, why it did not hit the person behind him? Let's take a listen to how she described where the entry wound was.
The wound edges appeared seared, situated just below the skin, blackened, granular material consistent with gunshot residue are noted in the underlying soft tissue. In brackets, this wound is consistent with a contact bullet entrance wound.
And Nompu, the controversial docket 375, you would recall the second docket in this particular matter, relates, of course, to, you'd recall, the prosecutorial authority had indicated that not made a decision on that docket 375 yet in terms of who should be prosecuted on that matter, and that decision will only be made based on the credibility of the findings of this current case, docket 636, in this particular matter, which of course says that the 5 men that are currently before this court should be taking the rap for the murder of Senzo Meyiwa. So with regard to docket 375, we saw Advocate Zandile Mshololo try to ask the witness Tumelo Madlala about, whether, in terms of that particular docket, whether, in terms of a decision that is still pending on it, in other words, if it would implicate any of the individuals inside the house. You have the state objecting there to a focus being put on this docket 375, because you would know that the prosecutorial authority has indicated they have not made a decision on this. The judge seemed to lean very much towards the state's objection, in that saying this docket 375 has not yet been decided on by the prosecutorial authority, so it's something that shouldn't even be mentioned inside this court. But Advocate Zandile Mshololo basically saying that the manner in which Tumelo Madlala was testifying in this court was basically to protect himself, whatever the outcome may be or whatever decision may be made in future regarding docket 375. Let's take a listen.
As you are testifying here, whilst there is a hanging decision, you will want by all ways to protect yourself from this hanging decision. Is that not so?
We object to that question. It's an unfair question. The issues that my learned friend has referred to has got nothing to do with this witness. He's here to tell his story. As to the credibility findings, that is what will be determined by this court at the end of the case. We suspect that we request that that question be overruled now.
All right, so Nompu, that of course pertaining to docket 375, in which the judge believes in this instance shouldn't really be touched on because no decision has been made yet pertaining to that particular document by the prosecutor authority. We're back at 2 o'clock for continuing cross-examination of Tumelo Madlala.